2015, I published this paper, the 1915 Locust Attack, in a journal called Middle Eastern Studies, owned by Taylor and Francis, owned by the Informa Group, or IFJP, one of the big five academic publishers: Informa, Wiley-Blackwell, Reed-Elsevier, Sage, and Nature Springer. Now, when I published that article, I had to forfeit my copyright to Taylor and Francis, or Informa, whose market capitalization is bleeding profusely owing to the novel coronavirus, which is heartbreaking. Informa, I have an idea for you on how to recover lost shareholder value. Why not take the 1915 Locust Attack copyright and shove it up your ass? Anyways, so the big five publishing companies, they own the copyrights to millions and millions of research papers, and they put those papers behind paywalls and charge universities millions of dollars a year to access them. In a nutshell, that is how the academic publishing industry works. And what I want to suggest in this episode is that this industry, the journal subscription industry, is in structural decline. The big five publishers are going to experience declining journal subscription revenues in the next 3 to 5 years, which is going to tank their valuations. Now, before we get into the details, remember, these businesses have seen either flat growth or trivial growth in the past couple of years. Michael Clark, who consults the big five, said already 5 years ago that this industry has exhausted new markets in Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America, and the only tool it had left in its arsenal was, quote, pricing and packaging optimizations, which is Latin for fucking over academic libraries. So if pricing and packaging is the only lever left, who's gonna win the war, universities or publishers? Now, to answer this question, let's talk about the university system that's usually ahead of the curve, the University of California. Here's what happened. In 2018, the University of California's 5-year subscription contract with Elsevier was up for renewal. Now, your first thought might be, a 5-year contract? Why would UC schools sign a 5-year deal with Elsevier? Who do you think Elsevier is, LeBron James? The effect of having Christmas dinner with in-laws on gut microbiota consumption for 3, off the high glass, and he hit it. Okay, did you see that ribosomal DNA sequencing play? If I had to guess, UC schools probably signed a 5-year deal because Elsevier abused its market dominance and said, it's 5 years or the fucking highway. Anyways, let's zoom in on UC Berkeley. They had been paying Elsevier $1.25 million a year for access to hundreds of Elsevier's journals. But in 2018, UC's negotiator-in-chief, Jeffrey Mackey Mason, tried to negotiate down the price, which Elsevier rebuffed, and so no agreement was signed. So Elsevier cut off UC schools. And so the University of California is still wanting to provide access to these journals, started paying, instead of a lump sum in advance for access to everything, they started buying access to individual articles instead. The articles were requested by its faculty, staff, and students. Guess how much UC Berkeley is now paying Elsevier? $40,000 a year in comparison to what it used to pay, $1.25 million, for a savings of 97%. And my source on this is Jeffrey Mackey Mason himself. That's right, folks. I interviewed the University of California's chief negotiator for this YouTube video. Dear universities of the world, when your contract with Elsevier or Informa or Wiley or Nature Springer or Sage comes up for renewal, do not renegotiate. Cut the cord and pay per article that you need, and you can cut your costs by 97%. And just like that, Informa, Wiley, Elsevier, they're gonna see their journal subscription businesses fall off a cliff. And it's actually already happening. In June 2020, MIT ended negotiations with Elsevier, and in April 2020, SUNY announced it was canceling its deal with Elsevier, saving itself $5 to $7 million a year. This is just the beginning of the end of the journal subscription business bonanza. And the end is sooner than most people realize because universities are desperately looking to cut costs. The pandemic has cost colleges $120 billion, and it's getting worse. Universities are anticipating major state budget cuts. They're seeing declining student enrollment numbers. Just this past fall, freshman enrollment was down 17%. 61% of US-based colleges and universities have implemented hiring freezes, 54% have frozen employee compensation, 31% have implemented employee furloughs, and 28% have laid off employees. Expect colleges and universities to tighten up those library budgets, and when they realize they can cut their journal subscription fees by 97%, the big five are gonna get crushed. Thank you for watching and for subscribing to the channel. Until next time.
you.